Bon, on est parti pour l'épisode 7. Lui, mon compagnon.
Laika!
Are you stark raving mad?
It was Laika. I am sure of it. That spirited little dog saved me.
Laika saved you in her little space machine.
I believe the correct term is capsule, General.
Don't push your luck any further, Ivan Ivanovich. I fear it might snap.
Oh, my apologies, General. In my excitement to explain what I discovered on the far side of the Metagalacticus Interiores, I got carried away. And it happened like this.
A rocky moon. It's the center of the Earth.
The source of all creation, General. A place where time flowed like rivers, and boulders of raw matter rained like comets upon the cratered rock.
Another miraculous escape from death. Another happy accident.
It was no accident, General. Laika took me there entirely deliberately. I'm sure of that. She continues to be a heroine and a savior and protector of our great nation.
Laika died in orbit.
No, General, she did not. She is very much alive and happy, and currently living several miles below our feet.
Laika is dead, Ivan.
She most certainly is not, General.
This is the real world, Tavarish. A world where you did not go to the center of the Earth, and Laika died in orbit.
In my world, General, Laika is still alive.
A better world, some may argue. Very well. I will live in your world for a while longer, but time is running out.
Ah, yes, time, General. I was just coming to that. There in the distance it stood, enveloped in a mighty time storm. The world clock, General. The beating heart of all history. The Axis Mundi, the pillar of the world.
Not enough to conquer Russia by drilling back to the surface with his magical mind-controlling atomic radio set then.
No, General. You see, what if he could fuse little Orpheus directly with the world clock? Then his message would radiate with every tick and every talk. He would not simply be the Tsar. He would be the Tsar of all time, the eternal tyrant, the literal incarnation of everything our glorious revolution stood to overthrow.
Sonikiv!
Uncanny, General. But it was somehow different. I felt no cold. The waves were motionless. Indeed, it was as if I had stepped free of those rivers of time and stood on entirely motionless ground. And there in the distance,
What?
debris from Tsarya and tall slave mines had washed up here, almost as if I were meant to find it. And there, amongst it, the winking of steel led me to a blasting cap, and a plan began to form.
moment de courir.
The terrain was ferocious. Explosive eruptions of fire and heat. Thunderous emissions.
J'ai pas le temps de sauter.
The terrain was ferocious. Explosive eruptions of fire and heat. Thunderous emissions and lethal gases.
Much like your cousin Pavel,
Oh, les voit assez
perhaps,
loin
as a
quand même.
result of consuming all of
Il y en a
those
un,
stolen
normalement.
eggs.
Ah, General, you have been listening after all.
Oh!
Agartha again.
Les flashs blancs comme ça, ça
You
devrait
are
être
stalling,
interdit.
comrade. The clock is ticking.
Tick tock,
Coup de
tick
la
tock.
rétine.
Of course. In a flash of inspiration, I understood. It was all wrong, you see, General.
That we can agree on.
We should never have gone to the center, because without little Orpheus, Toll could not have become the tyrant he had. The rocket drill was his means to reach the world clock, but it was little Orpheus that enabled him. And the time itself, the world clock itself, was determined to make matters right.
With a little help from you, of course.
Merely a simple pawn in a game played upon a cosmic scale, General. But a pawn who understood that he was being given a second chance to grab a chunk of the explosive resin that wondrous city was built upon. And I was back. The mighty river of time roared past me, carrying the weight of the whole of history with it.
Even for you, this is a stretch. Our time is almost up. I have to submit my report within the hour.
Time, General. Time was nearly up indeed. That
mais
ancient
saute.
and magical river
Pourquoi t'as
that
pas
carried
sauté?
me along.
Ah.
Enough. No more, Privalov. No more stories. No more lost worlds and space dolls. I'm full of it. It is nearly midnight, and you have not given me the adequate explanation for the whereabouts of little Orpheus and the atomic bomb.
But, General, I am about to tell you what happened when I finally caught up with the villain Toll.
I do not care, Tavarish. I simply do not care. You have worn me down, and it is time to call a halt to this. I bear you no malice, comrade. In many ways, I admire you, but time is running out.
Yes, General, yes. Time. Time. Because it was time itself that suddenly appeared to be on my side.
Perhaps the world clock was so impressed with your egg-wearing antics, it decided to return you to Plutonia for a second attempt. I would strongly suggest you cut to the chase.
The chase, yes. The pursuit of Toll and little Orpheus. I stood there with the resin fragment in one hand and the blasting cap in the other, and then, just like that, a clock began to ring.
Bah, heureusement qu'on devait
The
descendre.
world clock?
No, General, an alarm clock. My Slava alarm clock, in fact, given to me by Auntie Marsha.
The one who married the beef investigator.
The very same. And the moment I saw that clock, I knew what I had to do.
Yes, I'm waiting.
A bomb, General. A bomb to destroy a bomb.
So, you decided to build a bomb, eh? A bomb to destroy little Orpheus.
It was a simple plan, really, General.
Yes, you are very fond of your simple plans.
Comment ça?
It was the last time I was to see those poor enslaved nymph on my journey. As they scurried in agitation around the base of the rocket drill, now a dreadful weapon of war in the hands of a madman, I was reminded of my mother.
Your mother looked like a nymph? That is extremely disrespectful, comrade.
No, I meant I was raised by my mother from an early age, of course. My childhood memories of my father were all too brief.
You are rambling, comrade Privalov. Time is running out. Bienvenue, Rezinovi.
Time will run out for us all, General, will it not? And it ran out for my father on the shores of Volga.
Your father fought at Stalingrad?
He did, General.
So did I.
Well, so you see, General. Perhaps we are just the same, you and I. Perhaps we are all just Menkf in the end.
What possible use in the construction of a bomb could be found in the belly of a giant whale? Were you perhaps planning on using a worm as a fuse?
That would be ridiculous, General.
I would hate to undermine your otherwise entirely plausible account.
You forget, General. The belly of the beast was full of shipwrecks. And on one of them, I was bound to find what I was looking for. Fuse wire.
Comrade, yes, you'd forgotten all about the fuse until I reminded you, hadn't you?
General, your cynicism is unbecoming to a man of your
Les
rank and
sous-titres, ça aurait été en
stature.
bas, ça aurait été plus simple. Faut changer, bah tant pis maintenant.
The clock was now ticking, General. Literally. I was surrounded by time, immersed in it, floating along a river of it on a raft made of history, seeking the next moment of opportunity to hurtle backwards amongst those lost worlds.
I am a patient man, Tavarish. I lost 3 toes in the winter outside Sharkovskaya in 42. A drunken dentist removed 2 frostbitten toes and 1 perfectly healthy one. You may therefore consider me a man blessed with an uncommon level of endurance for discomfort.
I hate visiting the dentist. My Uncle Vanya was a dentist.
Oups.
The clock was now ticking, General. Literally. I was surrounded by time, immersed in it, floating along a river of it on a raft made of history, seeking the next moment of opportunity to hurtle backwards amongst those lost worlds.
I am a patient man, Tavarish. I lost 3 toes in the winter outside Sharkovskaya in 42. A drunken dentist removed 2 frostbitten toes and 1 perfectly healthy one. You may therefore consider me a man blessed with an uncommon level of endurance for discomfort.
I hate visiting the dentist. My Uncle Vanya was a dentist, and he was a deeply strange man, notwithstanding the love he felt for his pigs. He...
Ouais, ça passait, arrêtez. La carotte! Ah putain, je pensais qu'il fallait s'accrocher dessus. N'importe quoi.
And so to the ocean floor, and that strange submerged city, and those poor lost vessels. To find a shell case to hold all of my scavenged ingredients, the last piece I needed to construct my bomb.
Ah, yes, I have been waiting for this.
General?
Time, Ivan Ivanovich. Whilst you have rambled on and on about it, I have simply bided mine. I am a patient man, as I have said.
Yes, I don't feel I paid enough attention to the story about your toes. Do you have specially made shoes?
Enough!
Il va se calmer, lui.
Now I have your full attention. Indulge me, Tavarish. Explain to me how you made this bomb.
General?
Your bomb, comrade, that you so brilliantly constructed to destroy little Orpheus. Tell me how you made it.
Well,
In detail. The type of detail that should present no problem to a man who is actually capable of building a bomb, which I suspect would be an entirely different man to one who cheated on his entrance exams for the cosmonaut program. You are uncharacteristically silent, comrade. Cat, got your tongue?
if I may, General, perhaps just a minute or two to gather my thoughts?
There are precious few minutes left. We have reached our conclusion, I think.
Yes, we have, General. I gazed up at the world clock and knew I had arrived at my destination. Whatever lay inside would see my journey end one way or another. But I had no idea of the marvels that awaited me. And
The bomb, Ivan Ivanovich! Tell me how you built the bomb!
it was a wonderful sight. The world...
It is 2 minutes to midnight, Ivan. It is time to end this story.
On va faire pareil, on va passer le générique.
Let us recap. 3 years ago, you were sent to the center of the Earth as part of a top-secret mission to ensure the delivery of little Orpheus, an atomic-powered capsule. You promptly vanished until you casually wandered up to Molodiyozhnaya station, 3 years later, claiming to have saved the world, but lost little Orpheus in the process. Is this correct?
Yes, General, it is.
You are charged with many crimes against the state, including desertion, lying to a superior officer, and sedition. Any one of these charges bears the punishment of execution by firing squad.
General, you must be reasonable. I did my best. It's all true, I swear. I swear upon the lives of my family.
Oh, do you? Auntie Marcia and Uncle Vanya, the traveling tinker and the pig dentist, or perhaps Cousin Pavel, the criminal mastermind with the unhealthy taste for eggs. How stupid do you think I am, Comrade Devalov?
Subdayu, it is all true.
Maybe your toy maker, or was it watchmaker, father, who apparently taught you all he knew, despite being killed when you were less than 5 years old.
I was a fast learner?
You have precisely
Est-ce que
1
tu vas lire
minute to
ton cloche?
convince me not to summon the guards,
Non.
and have you shot on the spot.
A minute? A lifetime. It's all I need, General. I was astounded. My father, I told you, I think I told you, he was a toy maker, and he often played with clockwork parts.
Tavarish.
But this made all those childhood wonders pale into insignificance. And it was fortunate indeed that my uncle...
Vanya, the pig dentist?
No, my other uncle, Sasha, had taken me mountaineering in the Urals during my childhood, for it was only by scaling these giant mechanical parts that I would reach little Orpheus.
Yes, I had been thinking that it seems awfully convenient that you were such an accomplished climber. I don't, however, recall any mention of this Uncle Sasha in your file.
He was a very private
He was
man.
a very unlikely man.
That was Uncle Sasha's blessing and his curse.
Non. Calmez. Hein. Mais pas du si. Aïe. Alors, faut que je regarde parce que j'ai pas vu. Et bouge pas celui du milieu. Cours.
Those great wheels and cogs clashed and boomed. The vast hands of all time crunching forever and ever around.
Ivan Ivanovich.
Pendulums and springs and great big wheels and tiny little wheels.
Tavarish Privalov, stop.
Though at least the Mienk were not here, especially as they seemed to infest the world below the surface. Mienkf, Mienkf everywhere. Mienkf, Mienkf, Mienkf. Many Mienkf. Mienkf aplenty. Mienkf.
You are babbling. Comrade, enough.
Touche.
But where was Toll? Aha! High above. On the clock face, perhaps. With his radios and his crystals. Now, if I could just reach him, I could use the bomb.
There is no bomb. You have no idea how to make a bomb. You have no idea about how to do anything one might actually expect of a cosmonaut.
The bomb?
Ivan Ivanovich!
General?
Time is up. Stop talking, Tavarish. You don't know what happens next. It is obvious. You've done very well. I applaud you for your efforts and your story. It is a wonderful tale, Comrade Privalov. I have enjoyed it immensely. But every story needs an ending. And it is clear yours does not have one.
I just need more time.
I think that even if I gave you all the time in the world, it would not be enough.
No, General. I can do this. That is, I remember what happens next. I just need to catch my breath and compose myself.
We both know how this story ends, comrade.
But little Orpheus, you haven't heard what happened.
We will find out soon enough. You will be executed, and another expedition will be sent.
No, you cannot. You cannot. We must never go back. You don't understand.
Make me, then. Make me understand. I am a kind man, although you may not believe this. I do not want to have you shot. So help me. Make me understand. Tell me what happened to little Orpheus.
It was...
Ivan Ivanovich?
It was... It was... No. I'm sorry, General. I'm sorry, I have no idea. You are right. I simply cannot think what happened next. It's just... a blank, General. There's nothing there. I am very tired, you see.
Comrade Privalov. Ivan.
You're right. It's over, General. Perhaps you would be so kind as to write to my mother for me.
Of course I will.
You are a kind man, as you have said. And, General,
Yes, Ivan.
was it a good story?
Oh, yes. It was an excellent story.
Thank you, General. I am just sorry I couldn't give you an ending.
Unless...
General?
Quiet, Tovarish. I am thinking. Unless... I seem to remember that there were many problems with little Orpheus during production.
General?
Problems with the casing around the atomic battery. Concerns.
Concerns, General?
Yes, concerns. Unlikely though that might be. Yeah, it seems if I remember that it failed to secure properly. A sharp blow could spring the hatch and expose the fragile casing of the bomb to any would-be vandal.
I'm not sure I follow you.
A resourceful yet forgetful hero might, one would think, take advantage of that fact.
But how, General? Where would I find something to strike it with?
The son of a watchmaker would easily find something within a giant clock mechanism that resembled a hammer, surely.
A hammer? Why, yes, General. I do remember now. I grasped the hammer-shaped thingamabob.
Let's just agree it was a hammer, Ivan.
Yes, of course. Let's do that. I recovered my senses, shook my head, and looked about me. In my distracted stupor, I had climbed further up the tower than I ever thought possible. In front of me was the clock face, and I gazed out through it at the sheer expanse of history. And I knew whatever happened next... happened next?
The hand of destiny had fallen upon your shoulder.
Yes! It had. And what an extraordinary hand it was.
Ah ouais. Elle me demande de courir, c'est ça? Cours! Il s'accélère. Ah, je me suis watté. En fait, au début. Oh non. Non.
And so, Toll was defeated. Little Orpheus destroyed, the bomb lost forever.
Not just that, General. In that moment, time sprang back to its proper shape, and I found myself once more in Plutonia, as the start of my journey. But the wound in the interior sky was gone. The drill was gone. It was as if I had never been here. And they were nymph, free and happy, without the tyranny of Toll, free to pursue their simple lives.
But we can never go back?
Never, General. One drill, one metal sphere, one lone cosmonaut was nearly enough to destroy time and unleash the tyrant Toll upon our world. Who would think an innocuous beeping radio housed in a ball of metal could change the world
Lui, il a
so
pas intérêt à bouger.
dramatically?
Who indeed? But tell me, what of you? And what of your return to the surf?
I stayed amongst the Mienk for as long as I could. But I came to realize they had begun to worship me as a king. No, General. I am a good socialist and could not allow this workers' paradise to become corrupted. And so I left that wonderful land for the last time.
And then?
And then I walked. For 2 years I wandered, always looking for a way home, through lands and worlds almost beyond imagination. Until one day I emerged, blinking into sunlight, and realized I was home.
Until one day I emerged, just like that? You just found your way back to the surface?
Well, General, it was a little more complicated than that. There were great obstacles to overcome and terrible challenges to face and incredible lands to explore.
Enough, Ivan. Little Orpheus is lost forever. The interior is sealed. You have returned with a story of socialism, triumphing over incredible odds. It is, as I said, enough for one night. Enough for my report, at least.
General, if I may...
Comrade Ivan Ivanovich Privalov, you are found guilty of all charges brought against you and sentenced to execution by firing squad. However, having listened to your story, I believe
Salut
you
Zinzou,
are
ça va?
quite mad. In other words, I find your madness guilty, not you. And we cannot execute madness. And indeed, there are lessons to be learned, even in the depths of this madness. Perhaps the Americans were right to send a chimp after all.
So, General?
Get out of my sight, Ivan. Go home. Enjoy a state pension
Ouais,
as
ça va
a
nickel.
madman. Just make sure I never see you again.
Yes, General. Of course, General. Anything you say. I shall be small and quiet and live a life without excitement and...
Out! Until one day I just emerged. Very good, Tavarish. Very good indeed.
Et on a fini le jeu. Bah, je pensais qu'il restait un épisode. On a fait 2 là. On va quand même regarder pour être sûr. Hein.
Laika.
Ah. Un coup d'oignon en pleine tête. Allez. Hein.
Who's the best space dog? Oh, где моя хорошая, хорошенькая моя, ты просто космическая. Eh? Who's the best hairy cosmonaut? It is indeed a lovely sunset. And it reminds me of the
C'est lui mon
skies of the
compagnon.
moon.
Je pensais qu'il parlait d'un humain quoi.
I never told you about the wonderful Sky City? Well, it was an extraordinary place, but one filled with dangers.
Well, it might have been simple for you to cross it, but you were in a space capsule. I had to rely on my own 2 feet, my noshki. Feet which, I might add, had just crossed the interior, beaten the villain Toll, and helped inspire the Myank to a workers' revolution. Oh, that's all very easy for you to say, but your idea of civilized behavior is licking your own bottom in public. No. My adventures above the clouds were filled with untold dangers, death-defying escapes, and some really quite extraordinarily large Bielaribica. And it happened like this.
J'ai du mal à me réveiller. La crève. Pas la crève, hein, c'est chiant. Après, si je suis tranquille pendant un petit moment, ça va. Je préfère l'avoir tout de suite. Je suis rarement malade, mais quand je suis malade...
Weeks had passed since I left Plutonia.
La fin du
One
monde.
evening, exhausted, I simply fell asleep at the foot of a strange windmill. And when I awoke, well, that thought didn't cross my mind. I was exhausted after all. This is beside the point, my nosy canine friend. What matters is this. When I awoke, the windmill and the ground around it had been carried high into the air. What magic was this? Что за магия? As unlikely, perhaps, as a suitcase-sized dog orbiting the center of the Earth for many years. Quite. Quick as a flash, Kakmonia, my training leapt into play, and I began to paddle the strange contraption through the clouds in search of answers. It is entirely possible that a miller who owns a windmill capable of levitating high into the air may also own a flying machine. Oh, now you're just being silly. May I continue my recounting of how I sailed over the sky gardens towards the mystical city of Peru? Oh, I must, my moi ushatidrug. I must. What powerful emanations! What mighty gusts! What an epic shkval! They reminded me of Cousin Pavel, yes! But whereas his rearward zephyrs could curdle milk and tarnish the teaspoons, these magical wafts only serve to carry me aloft and onwards.
Qu'il fait. Pas tout compris là, il faut faire quoi? Il y a comme l'horloge en haut là-bas. Ça fait quoi? Ça a mis l'air.
But something was afoot in the gardens of Perun. This horrid muck staining the surfaces and making my nose curl. Yes, it was positively pavilion in scent. But it did not belong here. I think I once told you of Auntie Masha's passionate encounter in a cable car with the manganese entrepreneur from Chiatura. Now, Auntie Masha told me that there was a disagreeable stain and smell all around those factories and smelting works. Our industry is not without its dangers. Could it be that the once bucolic gardens of Perun were being corrupted by unchecked pollution? After all, science is a double-edged sword, my bristly confidant. Consider Zemikov. Of course. I apologize. Proшу прощения. Two-headed dogs is perhaps a rather insensitive analogy, but not without justification in this instance. I have seen the blemished lands around Norilsk, but I could not believe that I would find such pollution here. But this was nothing to the true horror of what was shortly to unfold.
Montgolfière. Pas compris. Ah, je suis pas sûr du tout, mais je crois que c'est une série ou un film ou un livre. C'est pour ça que ça te dit quelque chose. Moi, ça me dit vite fait quelque chose, mais vraiment sans plus. Arrêtez où? Ah, c'est le moment de mourir.
That terrible Strashnaya machina, spewing its poison into the air, had created a monstrous thing. A being. A malignant spoiler of the noble and pure. And it had taken on the form of its prey. Well, of course. No, конечно, I was the prey. The citizens of Perun had clearly long since fled the evilly sentient smog, but I inadvertently wandered into its lair. Oh, I know. Misfortune seemed to dog... Oh, sorry, I do apologize. To follow my every footstep. But no time to ponder, no time to bemoan the hand that fate had dealt me. No, all that was on my mind was escape, конечно. Yes, it was most interesting. The windmill seemed to be from an earlier age. Perhaps this was a devastating warning of the destructive power of unfettered industrialization. I most certainly had not forgotten about the windmills. I did not get carried away. You are missing the point. Perhaps because you are only a small dog. Oh, a brilliant, brave, spacefaring dog, of course, but a small Sabashka nonetheless. If you perhaps listened more
Je viens
and
seulement comprendre le truc.
interrupted less, I am just
La
getting
flèche du haut
to
c'est
the
pour monter, la flèche du bas c'est
explanation
pour
of the
descendre. Je pensais
windmills.
qu'il voulait faire un tour pour donner la puissance ou je sais pas. Bon. Normal c'est le matin. Encore très loin. Pour rien.
My stinking nemesis was back. But more interesting was the change in the city.
Marco là.
My stinking nemesis was back. But more interesting was the change in the city. The windmills were fading out, clearly obsoleted, mothballed, relics. Instead, a sense of an obsession with power was apparent. Vast engines, terrible machines, ever hungry and reliant on the rapid consumption of fuel, the production of toxic fumes and choking gases. Pride, my pushisti compadre, pride, ambitia, ambition, the dark side of science. Zemechov's had too many. Don't be ridiculous, dog. Only a Durak with the intellectual capacity of a ringworm would think windmills are in any way harmful.
Le jeu il est très bien mais j'aurais préféré une vraie difficulté. Je pense qu'ils auraient pu mieux faire. Après ils ont voulu peut-être faire ça pour tout le monde. Y a pas vraiment de difficulté quoi. Le principal c'est l'histoire. J'aurais vraiment aimé de la difficulté. Tu vas mourir de toute façon avec ça. Je pense qu'il fallait continuer sur la gauche mais... Oh non. C'est cassé.
Of course, you never had much of a chance to travel. Sarcasm doesn't suit you. You don't have the tail.
Wow, wow, wow. Un peu
You
risqué.
do at least have a tail. Mind you, family gossip maintained that so did Uncle Rabliem. Although it was apparently little more than a stub, and a source of considerable discomfort and social anxiety for him. The question of whether or not Uncle Rabliem wagged his stub is very much off topic. What I am trying to say is that your upbringing on the streets of Moscow meant you never saw the blackened fields of Magnitogorsk. The sacrifices made by the valiant citizens of that industrial heartland, as they drowned in their own blight, even as they powered the
T'as fini,
state
Docteur No,
forwards.
du coup?
I was reminded of Magnitogorsk as I wandered through those fields of pipes and foundries. And I wept for the loss of innocence that so often goes hand in hand with progress.
Franchement, ouais, si tu peux le faire, fais-le. Hein. Un très bon jeu et franchement, je crois qu'il est vraiment passé inaperçu. C'était la jambe.
Indeed! I just evaded the slimy, oily grasp of that man-made Vadzinoi, his petroleum stink clogging my nostrils and making my head thump. And I felt a great stirring within me. Yes, much like I assume Cousin Pavel. May he never get loose again. But no, quite different. This was no volcanic upbubbling of gastric malintent. No, it was the roaring fires of justice once more ignited within me. I felt a swell of patriotic fervor and knew the hand of destiny had fallen on me once more. Yes, what a hand it was! I could not see this great wonder sink into an abyss of poison and bile. The Perunians may have been forced to abandon their city, but I had saved the world once before and was ready to answer the call again.
Attends, j'ai raté là? Je vais vraiment être à la limite quoi du coup. Même là ça a limite bugué gars. Je vais être corps à la limite.
What strange metal Bielaribitsa clearly designed to swim through the air. I was amazed. And there was more. Beneath the fins, I spotted the apertures of hoses and was reminded of the time Auntie Agrafina devised a contraption to water all of her copious algae beds simultaneously with one flush of the toilet by a system of pipes and valves that ran throughout her house. Можно так сказать, in a manner of speaking, yes. Her algae were most irrigated, although her neighbor Victor was washing his trousers in the sink at the time and was bruised quite severely about the face and body. But these were no ordinary flying metal fish. They were designed to expel air, fresh air, and push back the polluted clouds.
Je peux passer là? Oh. J'avais pas vu ça.
There is, of course, a fine tradition of looking to nature to solve problems of a scientific or military persuasion. Yes, as you well know. My nephew, Sergei... Yes, the very same. Poor lad with his dermatological eruptions. Well, Sergei was stationed recently at Kazachya Bucht, where dolphins... dolphins were being trained as brilliant aquatic agents of socialism. Why not then be inspired by marine life? Why, there is a fish, I have heard, that can shoot jets of water from beneath the surface to knock its prey off little tiny twigs and into its mouth. If you were to tell the average mushroom shell that a dog would orbit the Earth, I suspect you would receive a similarly sneering response. That is because you are a small, hairy hound of uncertain parentage. I, on the other hand, am a cosmonaut, the product of many months of training, and I realized the answer to pollution was here all along. The Peronians, tragically, had simply never had time to finish their fleet. If only I could find a working, flying fish. If only. If only. Yes, if only. It made perfect sense, of course. The poisonous Tuhata that engulfed Perun was like a nasty cold. And you know what to do with a cold to rid yourself of it. You may not get colds, but nor can you operate bee-shelling machinery. So don't get ideas above your station. We humans, on the other hand, may produce up to 16 million perfectly unshelled peas in an average shift. But we are martyrs to our sinuses. But to clear them, aha! These are remedies we Russians have been perfecting over the long centuries of harsh winters. Onions. A quick snifter of onion oil will clear your head faster than a Pragviev can clear a hypothetical minefield. Yes, if I could find a functional fish, I would become that onion.
Commence. Il fait ça.
Close. I could feel it. Yes, the working fish, the ribka. I could feel I was at the heart of Perun, and my noxious pursuer had renewed its chase with a terrible vigor.
Bien de ses vents.
Not far now. I just had to keep going, keep pushing. It's almost as if you knew, Pavel. Uncanny. Double it. There she was. A beautiful sight. Her scales shimmering in the sunlight, her fins poised for action, her onion cannons primed for a great aerial conflict unseen in the annals of human endeavor. And you are just jealous it was a bigger flying machine than yours. No, Peleus Powell. It was time for science to fight back. Yes, my hairy compatriot. Ayachale, onwards to victory!
Cool ça. Je peux tirer tout. La Kryptonite. Je le reconnais. Waouh. Je joue avec le feu. Putain, je saute dedans moi. Alors, on peut prendre des coups, apparemment déjà. C'est où? Fais bouche. Je suis mort? Non. Bah on a touché si. Merde. préférais plus de missions comme ça. Ah, je pense dans les trucs. Oh, j'ai tiré. On a vu le truc partir. Pas se faire toucher, ne pas se faire toucher. Pour m'endurer. Ouais. Ok, enfin là où ça bouge. Trois fois comme dans Nintendo. D'accord. Trois fois comme Nintendo.
It was a miracle. I found myself swooping through beautiful clear skies, the strange interior sunlight gleaming on the sides of my fishy vessel. I heard birds clear their little throats and begin their wondrous gvalt, the wind gently humming on the fins. And then, all of a sudden, under it all, well, you see, in my hurry, it didn't even occur to me to check how much fuel was carried in the strange craft. With a horrible splutter, the engines choked and died. And suddenly we were plummeting downwards towards our doom. I did not. A simple mistake that many have made.
Why, my Aunt Agrafina met her untimely demise being late for a fungal sculpting seminar and making exactly the same error. Only, unfortunately, it left her stranded in sub-zero temperatures just outside Pravachitsinsk. She wasn't found until 18 years after her own funeral, but was perfectly preserved. Remarkable, really. It is beside the point, yes. So, there I was. My fabulous ship had become a terrible prison. I was hurtling to my almost certain death. My triumph turned to tragedy. But then... Well, you know what happened next. Even so, moi magnati drug, that is a story for another time. A most extraordinary story, of course, filled with dangers and wonders, and canals, and invasions, and strange doorways to other worlds. But perhaps too long a story for now. Yes, indeed, my canine tavarish. Time for soup. Auntie Agrafina's famous borscht. Coming? You know, I think you really did have the happier time in Peru. The benefits of being a suitcase-sized dog in a little space machine, perhaps. Ah, yes, the correct term is indeed capsule, as I told the general once. Why, a letter just the other week. He's thinking of retiring, he says. Yes, and moving to Bashkiria to nurture bees. Bees? Surprised me too. I thought if animal husbandry was to be his passion, it would be a large, manly animal like elk, or bears, or a caban. Perhaps the bees he is thinking of are particularly militaristic. Or stingy, yes. Did you want bread with your soup? In which case, there's half a tin of old beef you could also finish. Somewhat gray, but I'm sure it won't taste awful. Yes, my four-legged associate. Now, did I ever tell you the story of when Uncle Rablien got his stub ensnared in the seat of a wicker chair in the finest fish restaurant in the whole of Taliatsia?
Cool. Un petit bonus. Après, il faudrait les refaire et récupérer tous les objets dedans, mais ça aurait dû être dès le départ, quoi. On va s'arrêter là.